everybody. Welcome back to the slumber party. Are you in your pajamas? Do you have your side pony? I hope you do, because today we have a party as a guest. And I would count. I have followed you for so long, but I feel like I really fell in love with you via the pandemic and just your vibe and everything about you. And I am so excited to have you on the podcast. So I would like to formally welcome my internet friend, Ann Matthews from Energy Tree Studios. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. I think that you are the only person, maybe in the entire world, that likes me better now since the pandemic. I think you are maybe the only person that wasn't completely alienated by my obscene point of view.
No. So I think I don't want to I'm trying to think about the pandemic has tired me a little bit with these discussions, and I honestly I have very strong opinions and political opinions, but when I think about so I think probably the space that you're in the wellness space, which is probably full of people who feel a certain way about the pandemic. See, I'm trying to skirt this issue. I'm sure your views, because I know that you were you deal well. First, let's pause. Tell everybody what you do, because you are magic, and I've heard so much about you before I even knew you, and I want everyone to know what you do because I think it's amazing. Tell me everything. Go.
I mean, it's, I don't even know. I genuinely, I think a lot of it started out with having a doctorate in Chinese medicine, and then it took off into this now reputation of just pure witchcraft. And so I really like that you said that it was wellness, on account of the fact that I'm accused on the daily now of just being a witch.
Okay, but
Spellcraft.
I'm also accused of being a witch because so it's really funny because I do sleep work with parents who are tired, and I always tell people, they're like, "So how do you do it?" And it's like, literally, I'll say I'm not magic, but I really give you some nitty gritty details on how to do this well while emotionally supporting your child. And there's a lot of bad raps about sleep training, and some of it isn't that great, but it doesn't have to be. It can actually be an okay experience. And then people do it and they're like, "Are you a witch?" I swear I've been accused of being a witch a lot of times, and I'm like, I'm not. It's just you thought it was way worse than it was going to be because you read things on the internet, but it's not. It doesn't have to be.
I'd like to have your witchcraft here right now, in my house. I've aside from the 10 and 11-year-old, who it would be really weird if you had to come and sleep train them, but the 1-year-old, I don't know if you can hear her.
No.
I hope not. These
No.
these fancy dancy headphones, which I actually had to Google how to soundproof them. Apparently not that difficult, but
No.
Googled it, and I'm glad that that's working. Yeah, she's in the other room. Just, we got her a new crib. It's much roomier than her previous one. I thought this would be a bonus. It seems not. I mean, if I'm going to be totally honest with you, I feel honestly like I kind of wanted to text you a picture of what she was sleeping in last night, because there was a lapse between the time that the crib was supposed to be here, thanks West Coast kids, and the actual arrival of it, where I sent the mini crib that she had previously been sleeping in off to my mother's house, because that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
My poor mom. She's like
Yeah.
very handy, and I just arts and crafts
You're like, there
everything
you
that
go,
I
do
need
something.
redone. I was
Oh,
like, I need
you
you to
should make an
please,
Instagram account.
for
Shit, my
Sharon.
mom redid.
she, I honestly, she's so good at all things with regards to like furniture refurbishing, art.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I sent this off with her, and so Noah was sleeping. I kid you not, last night in an IKEA clear bin,
Mm-hmm.
roughly the size of a meter. I'm going to text you the picture. It
You
could be
should.
the episode screenshot. Um, and she slept in that like a champ. Like, I don't understand. I don't know if it's because it was right next to my bed again, but she was asleep, like full on, slept through the night, no waking, IKEA bin.
In an IKEA bin.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we
I'm
can't
sending.
recommend that for safety purposes, folks. If you're listening to that, we're not putting
I
our
mean,
kids in IKEA bin.
I mean, the top was off.
I'm wondering if it was just very
There,
snuggly for
I
her.
sent it to you. It's on your phone.
She's she's probably feeling like swaddled almost. And it was
Well, I think
probably
that's what it
warm.
must have been.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, there were blankets and whatnot. I mean, she's
And
like
does
not
she
a tiny little baby. She's relatively large. She can like sit up and you
and does
know.
she co-sleep usually?
No, she's a Capricorn. She she would sit right up and abuse me until I put her in her own personal space, which I would actually like to do with my husband most nights,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's a Taurus and so insists on.
Oh, I'm surrounded by Tauruses.
Same.
What's your sign?
I'm a Capricorn. It's
You're
like my
also a
daughter.
Capricorn. Okay.
So I could really do with the personal space, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he needs me there for
I
what I'm not sure, but
I have
love it.
I'm wondering what the universe is telling me, but literally my husband, both of my daughters, and one of my best friends, and my best friend's husband, and my husband's business partner, and their son are all Tauruses. Like right now is the busiest time of my life.
For
My
your birthdays.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like it's a lot. It's a lot of birthdays right now.
Yeah, that
If you
is.
see, it's a lot.
Yeah. But that's really good. Like you can have so many outdoor soirees.
Mhm.
People
Mhm.
are happy
Mhm.
because it's sunny,
Yeah,
you
it's a
know?
good time of year.
What are
Oh,
you? What sign are you?
I'm an Aquarius. I'm a weirdo.
Really? That is
Mhm.
perfect for your teaching.
Yeah, is it? Tell me
Yeah,
why.
yeah, all Aquarius. It's like your gift is to teach
Oh.
others and to coach others.
Oh, I feel so like I I I have just lately, so I've been doing this for like 5 solid years, and some of the people that I trained with and like kind of like started my business with like colleagues, like some of them are sort of be like, "Ah, you know what? It's just like I'm like so burnt out." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not. I'm so obsessed with this. I can't ever do anything other than this. It's in my bloodstream. I am
Yeah.
so obsessed with it. I mean, I'm sure like how I do it will change because I get bored easily, but I am it's just like, and I'm sure like you, the results are so life-changing and it's so rewarding that it's like kind of just selfish at this point. I was actually just thinking, and I don't know, I don't this is where having like a office mate might be helpful, but like sometimes things like right now I have so many huge significant client wins, like things that are like actually, changing how women feel about their motherhood journey, and like some disclosures that they're sharing with me, and some like huge growth, and it's just emotional. Like sometimes I cry on the phone with my clients because I'm so happy for them. Like
Yeah.
I had a client last week be like, my baby had colic forever. And like now it's just, and we didn't go out. And so we went out and we saw family, and like people were like, what a great baby. And like, you're doing such a great job. And she's like, it was honestly a very transformational moment for me in this journey. And I was like, I'm so happy for you. I'm sure you feel the same. Like, okay, so why I want you on, or why I wanted you on this, is because you are an acupuncturist. You have your degree in, I don't, what is it?
I have a few.
Tell me all of
I have
them.
an econ degree
Okay.
from Trinity U of T. I have a bio degree from Queens.
Oh,
And then I have
Queens.
a
I didn't know you went to Queens. I also went to Queens. What?
yes, I went to Queens. I spent a significant amount of time at Ale House. So maybe we ran into each
For
other
sure.
there.
You do look familiar. I worked at Clark Hall Pub for my
Oh,
3 out of 4 years. So if you were ever
yeah.
frequented, I definitely served you beer.
And maybe even threw me out a few times.
I wouldn't,
No,
but my
um,
husband might have.
no, I was well behaved. I promise. I spent most of the time in the library. I'm trying to make myself out to be much cooler than I actually was.
And I'm trying to like temper down my previous exploits at university.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I love Queens. And then I have a doctorate in Chinese medicine. From the first portion, because it's a 5-year program, and you do either a 3-year acupuncture. So I got the first 3 years from the International College of Traditional Chinese Medicine, and then I got my fourth, my TCMP, and my doctorate from Pacific Rim College in Victoria. So it was a
Okay.
long
And now
bout. Like,
what you
I'm really
do,
a recent grad.
but
Because I'm
but
so
you,
young.
so how I learned about you is I followed Marley from Kale and Crunches a million years ago on
Yeah.
her pregnancy journey. And I know that you were largely credited in a big part of that. And I learned that basically what you do is you use, and please correct me along the way because I'm probably messing something up, but you use acupuncture as a form of, as a fertility treatment, or in conjunction with. Can you talk to us about that and how it works? Because I'm genuinely
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a different approach. There is I use traditional Chinese medicine in the theories that it presents about just our congenital well-being. So essentially, each person, there's certain characteristics, both physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, that make up sort of like a Chinese medicine persona, if you will. And so you treat those imbalances because each individual, there's certain things that, like, for example, I could stay up late every night of the week. I could eat raw vegetables every single night of the week. I could live off of iced beverages and I would be completely fine. But if you put spice in my food
Mm-hmm.
and you don't emotionally stimulate me, I will be a mess. So there's certain, whereas other people have the complete opposite. They need they need a lot of downtime. They need more sleep. They um, do well with some like warming foods, like ginger and turmeric lattes are a win for them. And that just is your very baseline, sort of what's going on with your body on a day to day. So you have that sort of base layer. And then I use Chinese medicine and acupuncture and all things involved with like diet therapy and more recent discoveries around like nutritional supplements and how they could potentially benefit people. I'm very much a less is more
Mm-hmm.
kind of practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
in that I try to introduce as little as I possibly can to make the largest change, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit different than most. But I use my background in sort of bio and Western medicine and my understanding of labs and basics of like a hormone panel or
Mm-hmm.
like a complete blood count, like a CBC that you get from a doctor if you just had a checkup, and I'm able to sort of correlate how it it works within like a Chinese medicine framework. So, like for example, instead of just looking at a complete blood count and seeing, okay, well, this person's iron deficient, I'm going to then recommend they, increase these foods, potentially take these supplements. I'm also then able to use Chinese medicine acupuncture and tonify blood. So, and then I do that for
Cool.
fertility with like each phase of the cycle. So some patients don't have a monthly 28-day cycle. And so the goal is obviously to get to about that 28 to 32-day cycle. But you have to understand what each part of the cycle means from not only a biomedicine standpoint, but also a Chinese medicine standpoint. So that was a very
That's really
convoluted
cool.
answer.
No, but that's actually, I think, I mean, so if you follow your Instagram, like your results speak for themselves, like people really struggling are suddenly finding huge success with you. And I'm so interested too in this less is more concept because I've seen you talk about this a lot on your Instagram, and this is sort of why I love you so much because I think that there's so much about parenting where like this martyrdom comes in, right? And these people trying to get pregnant are really really trying, and then they go and then people are like, take out this, take out this, take out this, take out this, stop doing this, stop doing this. And then it's like they come to you and you're like, how do you feel? And they're like, well, I feel like shit because I'm not living my life. It's like, well, how are you supposed to get pregnant when you're sitting there like, ah! And I just love that you said that because I think there's so much about and it's like, so obvious. Like when you said that to me, I was like, shit, this is already permeating before conception. This idea of like sacrifice and you know what I mean? Like I hate that. And it doesn't have to be that. And we see that if, there's a breastfeeding issue, take out everything, stop eating everything, stop living your life. It's like, or maybe there's something else going on.
Yeah. I mean, even from like a breastfeeding standpoint, there's I mean, I personally I've had a few runs at it because I have 5 children. But I feel like most people don't get that many chances, and so they're very deeply um, scarred by the experience that they have with the 1 to 2. And so breastfeeding is a perfect example. I feel like it takes up people's entire lives. There's no way that breastfeeding should take up your whole life. And I mean, that's just my
Yeah.
personal opinion that like if your entire existence is filled with you, like I remember I was 27 and I had just had Madeline, and it was a lactation consultant, and they're wonderful, and I'm so grateful
Mm-hmm.
for them. But
Mm-hmm.
she came to my house and told me that I needed to clear my schedule for 2 days, and I was just going to sit with the baby and
Mm-hmm.
breastfeed her for 2 days without a
Mm-hmm.
shirt on, which for some would be like, wonderful. That sounds like a great vacation. For me, it sounded like a nervous breakdown. And I was
Yeah.
not willing to do that. And so I became an
Yeah.
expert on good quality organic formulas. And
Uh, but
I haven't
but
looked
this is,
back.
I feel like my journey too, that I saw so many, you know, there are, again, I have like a lactation consultant that I love, Azura Goodman, Azura Infant Feeding, who's so inclusive about all types of feeding, helps people just feed their babies, is also like just an excellent lactation consultant. She just like takes the shame out of it, right? But
Yeah.
I think this is why I also became a sleep consultant, because some lactation consultants and some people feel like it's either you're sleeping or you're breastfeeding. And like, to be honest, if you're not sleeping, how are you producing milk? And if the answer to your milk issue is to feed the baby whenever they want nonstop all night, again, disclaimer, if you want to do that, you should do that, especially if you feel good about it. But if you're not, and you're functioning, but if you're not functioning, you're getting up every hour, the answer isn't like kill yourself more over this. Like I feel like every time I have a podcast, I get into this like soapbox. People are gonna stop listening because they're like, I get it. You don't have to have this conversation every time.
But you
But it
do.
does it comes into every industry, right?
Yeah, no. The concept of perfectionism and doing things one way is, I mean, it's such a part of our culture, but it's also just such a part of being like a female, or like female identifying. Honestly, I would, my husband would never put this type of pressure on himself ever. And if something wasn't working, he would try to find a solution that was good for him and good for the other party. It wouldn't just be like, this is just good for the baby. I'm just doing it for the baby. I'm going to give up my life. I am going to feel like garbage. I mean, like I sincerely, I have so many patients who they come back for their second and they say, I don't know how you're managing with all those kids. And I'm like, because I don't give each one 1,000% of me. They all get a slice, and the rest of it I give to myself. And that way I can be a good example for them as children. And I am functioning at a level that's, you know, optimal. And I'm enjoying my life. They're not looking at me and being like, poor mom. And I attribute this to Sharon, the crib refacer, who also worked when I was little. And yeah, yeah, Sharon's my mom. Uh, but she essentially, she worked full time, and was insisted on us becoming fairly self sufficient. And the idea of, her giving up her entire existence to be our parent was just not, it wasn't in the cards, which honestly, I'm grateful for, because now she's older and she has her own life, and I don't feel guilty. And for some reason, I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There we
I
go.
have lots of thoughts. I like to put my mic on pause when the other person is talking, because I find when I listen back to the podcast, I'm going, and it's like no one needs to hear that. And I also like hit my mic all the time. So anyway, I'm trying not to do that, because I talk with my hands constantly. So
You're
if you're watching
expressive.
this on YouTube lately or later, this is what I'm doing. Yeah, well, yeah, and I actually, so you've brought it back to a different point for me, where this like modern parenting, or like the most ideal parenting. So right now I'm doing my degree in social work, and
Right.
when you talk about like attachment, because this is thrown around constantly. Well, if I do this, I'm ruining my attachment. Like, let's take sleep out of it. If I'm not like getting down on all fours and connecting with my child and looking deeply into their eyes all day, I won't have an attachment. Okay, that's crazy because think about literally up until our generation, how we were parented, and what a privilege it is to get down on all fours with your child for X amount of time and look them deeply in their eyes. What your child needs is a rock. They need a leader. They need someone to be like, hey, shit went down and I know that you can handle it. Period. That's how you build attachment. It means being responsible, responsive, delighting in your child. These are easy things to do. And it doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean that you can't make mistakes. It means like literally just loving your kid, which is, and then the other thing that is bothering me is that we've um we have this narrative that it's like something that you constantly have to work at, when really having a bond with your child is pretty instinctual and natural. I mean, I'm not talking about postpartum depression when you have a baby and you're not feeling immediately bonded. That's super normal, but it always comes, right? And it's effortless. It's effortless. You don't like do push-ups and then you have a great bond with your kid. It's effortless. It's being around them. It's responding to them. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think each child that you have too,
Mm-hmm,
you're going to have
mm-hmm,
a completely different bond because they're
mm-hmm.
going to be a different, I mean, I joke around with the idea of Noah being a Capricorn and therefore not wanting me around her, but it's true. And like that, if I stared deeply into her eyes all the time, she would just slap me right in the face. And that's just
I get that a lot with my clients too.
dangerous.
Well,
Yeah.
they're like, I'm trying, we're hiring you because I'm actively rocking this child and they hate it and they scream and they don't want to sleep on me and I'm doing something wrong. And it's like, I honestly feel like so much of my work is so simple. It's like,
Yeah.
let the kid tell you what they want to do. Like, it sounds like they don't want to sleep on you. So you should
No.
just put them down.
And that's the thing too, is I bet you run into it all the time with the idea, and I have this with fertility where people are like, well, this is what worked the first time. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
but it might not work that way the second time. And I imagine with children, like people have that same idea where they think, well, this worked really well for my first, but what the heck is happening with my second? And like for example, my first and my second are very similar. And if I had had them sleep on me, I literally could probably have Aiden and Madeline sleep in my bed right now and be like on my body 24/7, and they would be so content. They would be so happy. But if I then invited Samson, my like fourth, or Noah, my fifth, into the same scenario, they would just they like squirm and want to be away from me, but they're very pleased when I come home from work. Like it's not, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's,
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like it's really important to look at every individual situation with like a fresh lens. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of the time, because life is so complicated and because we're so tired, we want to have that idea that we already know what to expect.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yes.
probably like amplified with COVID
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people add that like what you can't expect anything. Nothing is going to plan.
Yeah.
And so the idea of having something, especially with parenting, that's consistent with what you would expect is, you know, it's more than reassuring.
Yeah.
It's helping bring you forward, like you don't feel like all is lost.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I definitely understand where people are coming from.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, I mean, it's such a funny time of parenting right now. And I hope that it's my mission. Like, it's funny. Like, when I stopped having kids, I was kind of like, I don't know. I was in some ways like I was done having kids for sure, but I feel like now it's like I feel like I'm almost parenting other parents, right? Like that's kind of what I really like doing and helping them just like live authentic lives to themselves. And I think you're doing that so much as well. Like you're one of those professionals that's taking a lot of the pressure off parents, and that's super valuable work. I don't know if you know this about my podcast, Anne, but we like to keep this podcast to the length of a crap nap, which is about 30 minutes, and we're getting there. I
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So the idea is
Yeah.
that, like, if your baby is sleeping really badly, you can listen to a full episode, get your tips and tricks in that crap nap, and then get back at it. But
Love that.
I really wanted you on so people could find you and learn more about you. And if maybe they're having some thoughts about their own fertility, to find like a really lovely balanced practitioner that can help them. Tell them where they can find you.
You can find me in my clinic, just walking. a good start would probably be Instagram, which is Energy Tree Ann.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a website, and you're going to try to book through it, and you can't,
Okay.
because I'm exclusive like that. No, I'm not. I think a lot of people want just general acupuncture, and I only treat
Yes.
fertility.
Right.
And
Okay.
so,
That's a
yeah,
good, that's, I wasn't sure about that. So that's a
mhm.
good clarification.
Yeah, I Energy Tree Studios. I have 4 baby acupuncturists, and I shouldn't call them that because they're actually my age. But they are all working with me right now, and they all have different interests. 2 of them are fertility focused, but 2 of them are interested in just general practice. So, if you're looking for Chinese medicine acupuncture in like a beautiful environment that's cost effective,
Yeah.
and community minded, then you can definitely come on into Energy Tree Studios. And the website is www.energytreestudios.com. But if you're wanting to work with me, I only work with uterus, ovary, sperm situations,
Okay.
and all that entails. Just because it's my jam. It's similar to you can't lose enthusiasm for all things sleep. I can't lose enthusiasm for all things blood and discharge. Love
I
it.
love that. I do love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You were saying something. Oh, I was going to make a joke that it was going to be like your aesthetic and your whole studio. The pictures of it are so beautiful that I feel like I want to lie to you and be like, I want a baby. Should I? It's like my
Come on
husband has a
in.
vasectomy.
I'd
I
get
might
that
be the
semen
most fertile
analysis and would
ever.
be very concerned.
Exactly.
There's nothing there. He's
It's
shooting
literally.
complete blanks.
I
There's
know.
nothing
And
I
you
can
know,
do.
well, it's so funny. I can't believe. No, I'm not going to share that story. I was going to share a story, but I care about my husband, so I'm not going to do that. On
Was
that
it a
note,
sperm story? I'm sad.
it was more about the
Oh,
idea. I don't think it's really embarrassing to him, but he had a vasectomy. And, like there are some months where like maybe your period is wonky and you're
yeah.
like, could I be? And he had his vasectomy literally right before everything was shut down in the pandemic. So he didn't get a chance to go and have that test where they tell you you're good or
Whether
not.
there's,
So there's always
yes.
like a like question mark, but not really. And so every time I'm like, could it be? And he's like, wouldn't be mine. You'd have a lot of explaining to do.
I
Like,
don't know. I have
yeah,
actually a few patients where that was in fact the case.
I know.
That's
I've
when
heard
the
it.
witch reputation really came through.
Well, yeah,
Immaculate Conception is where I draw the line, guys.
I 100%. We were told that as well. Like, so it's funny. So again, Brad had his vasectomy. I had a procedure totally unrelated that I was warned may affect my fertility, but I was like, I'm okay. That's fine. We do it because I'm done having kids. And as we were leaving the procedure, the surgeon, who's also an OB, I was like, she's like, oh, be careful. And I was like, oh, he just got a vasectomy. She goes, I delivered a vasectomy baby yesterday. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. So we were
Yeah.
warned many times.
You
Yeah.
were very careful.
Very careful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this on a Wednesday evening. Folks, if you need any sleep help, obviously you know where to go, babiesbestsleep.com, on our Instagram at babiesbestsleep. You can be connected to any member of our team. If you're thinking you'd like to be a consultant, we have our next certification training coming September as well, and you can learn all about that. Send me an email and I will direct you to the right place. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.